Yo, what's up, everyone? I have José from Delphi back here on the show. If you watched part one, you guys would know today we are going to be discussing more of the degen altcoin stuff, going into interesting topics like, Rollbit, GambleFi, trading bots, Unibot, all that sort of stuff, as well as some of José's top picks. So welcome back, although it's only been 1 minute in the real world. And let's kick it off. So first thesis I wanted to get your opinion on was this tweet that you did. You said, over a long enough timeline, all centralized exchanges will fade into irrelevance and become glorified on/off ramps. Pretty strong words, actually. You said the vast majority of trading activity will happen on DEXs. Overzealous regulators will just accelerate this transition. Do you want to elaborate a bit on that tweet?
Yeah. Like I think the future is, at the very least, like non-custodial exchanges. So where you, like, similar to 𝗕𝗏𝗕𝗏𝗧 or Vertex, where you might have an off-chain order book, but the trading is non-custodial. It's just kind of like, I think, inevitable. It'll take a while for both the tech to get there and then the trust in the tech to get there, right? But yeah, I think it's inevitable because it's like a better system. Like you don't need to give. There's no reason why an exchange should have custody over your assets in order to allow you to trade there, right? Like if you can trade according to rules defined in smart contracts, then like there's really no need to give up custody of your assets, and that applies to like derivatives and spot. So I think. And then also from a regulatory perspective, I just think that regulators are going to be kind of going after centralized exchanges. Centralized exchanges are like one of the easiest places for regulators to go after, right? They have a lot of money. They like, and as we've seen with Binance and Bittrex and these kind of enforcement letters, like I just think it's going to be like the biggest targets that regulators go after, and in doing so, they end up pushing people more and more towards like decentralized exchanges. And then I think you're going to have on and off ramps and like crypto native neobanks, right? That serve as the connection point between fiat and the crypto world, where you can go on and off. But then once you're but then in terms of like your trading venues and stuff, I think the most successful ones will be decentralized in future. And I think
do you worry about you mentioned you mentioned centralized regulation. Do you worry about DeFi regulation as well? I know it's hard to regulate, but like, yeah, is there some sort of future where things are just like flat out IP banned, I guess, in like multiple jurisdictions for DeFi?
Yeah, I think DeFi is much harder. Like, and properly built DeFi is much harder to regulate in that way, right? Like if you build, and it depends exactly how things are built, but like. I think DeFi built the right way. There is no one you can subpoena to shut it down, right? Like there's not like a Binance you can go after and say, hey, you've been serving like Hamas or whoever they were, whoever they were laundering money for. You guys, you need to stop doing that immediately. And it's like, well, if it's a smart contract and like you've handed over the keys to governance, then it's like, if you want me to stop, you have to make a governance proposal. Like the SEC would have to propose to the DAO that they stop doing whatever they want to do. It's really the only way.
That's pretty funny to think about. 𝗕𝗏𝗕𝗏𝗧 like clicking accept on his MetaMask.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the end game of like well-designed DeFi, I think. So I think the kind of weak link there still is like the front end and to some extent like the back end, but I think there are solutions coming up for that too. Like 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗃 is super interesting, but I think even absent 𝗕𝗏𝗃𝗃, like stuff like Liquidity just makes it like, so Liquidity's model, for those who aren't familiar, it provides like a fee at the smart contract level to front end operators, right? So you can stand up a front end and you get paid per I think in their case, it's part of the interest for standing up a front end and serving users. And I think every exchange or decentralized exchange will eventually like adopt a similar model where, and you can also like open source your front end, right? And Dockerize it and make it very easy for anyone to deploy. And at that point, it becomes like as hard to stop as Tor, right? You have these smart contracts running permissionlessly on the blockchain, and then you have a bunch of people all around the world running front ends for it, and like a free market basically of people being paid fees to do that. And so I think like, yeah, properly built DeFi is both very hard to regulate practically, and also doesn't fit into regulatory like definitions and like and this, yeah, like the kind of principles that regulations exist for, right? Like, yeah, there isn't a counterparty, right? Like a lot of the, I mean, like all regulations are there for a reason, right? And we kind of like speed run why they're there with crypto in many ways. But like the reason you have securities regulations, right, is because you have someone selling shares in a business that they understand way better to people that understand it, that don't have as much visibility. And so there's a lot of like potential for moral hazard with that, right? Where I can sell you stuff while I dump on you. I can not tell you that the business is actually failing and sell you shares saying that the business is doing much better than it is. All the stuff that we've seen happen in crypto and that like regulation is there for, right? Like that's why you have disclosures. That's why you have prospectuses and criminal liability for not, or different kinds of liability, including criminal, for people who break those rules. And it's the same with everything, right? Like if you run an exchange, like the custodian regulation is there for a reason. The counterparty regulation is there for a reason. And I think like crypto, like smart contracts, if it's a well-designed system, kind of like eliminates the need for a lot of that stuff. Like there is no counterparty risk with a smart contract system, at least not in the way that's normally defined, right? Yeah. So that's why that's why I think the future is DEXs.
So let's touch on some of these DEXs. You mentioned Vertex as being one of the most underrated DEXs in the space. Yeah, well, what's Vertex? What's the thesis there?
Yeah, I'm really bullish Vertex. We don't have an investment, unfortunately, although I'm a user. It's built by I don't know how much he wants me to say, but he's one of the smartest devs in crypto. He's like a wonder kid who is like very early, worked at one of the big market makers, built out a bunch of their systems, then worked at an L1 and built out a bunch of the systems there, like before he was sort of 19, and then
Wow.
went and built this. So he's a very, very smart guy, and I rate him super, super highly in my kind of interactions with him so far. And then his partner is also very experienced, TradFi guy that people know, maybe it's called Darius. And yeah, what they're building is basically, I think it's the only, maybe Quenta allows this too, but I think it's the only cross margin like DEX in production. So they have like a money market plus spot trading plus perps trading with like single cross margin account. It's live on Arbitrum. And they have like this off-chain order book that they run, like similar in concept to like 0x or DYDX, if people are more familiar with that, where you kind of sign orders on chain, but then they get matched off chain. And yeah, it works really well. And I think the cross margin piece especially is like really interesting. And I think one of the things that made the FTX experience so sticky was the cross margin stuff. Like I think one thing about exchanges is you make all your money on the majors like BTC, ETH, etc., but you actually win customers on the long tail, right? Like people went and used Binance over Coinbase because they listed like whatever shitcoin they wanted first, and then they went to FTX over Binance because they listed like perps for their favorite shitcoins, and they let you like use your shitcoins as margin, right? And then people now go to Uniswap because they can ape like Unibot and Rollbit and all these things that list on Uniswap first, right? Like exchanges can win a lot of customers by listing the long tail quicker. And I think the cool thing about Vertex is it kind of combines like you're able to do perps on majors with like pretty decent liquidity, obviously not the same as centralized exchanges, but they're also able to list the long tail. They have an AMM. And they're also able to do cross margin, so allow you to use a bunch of different stuff as collateral through their money market, their kind of internal money market.
You mentioned DYDX on part one. as one DEX to also keep your eye on. Injective is one you've also spoken about as well. Is there any other DEXs you're actively looking at as solutions that you find particularly interesting?
Yeah, there's one called Cube Exchange. It's I don't think it's stealth. It's got a Twitter page and everything, but it's built by Bartosz, who was one of the best engineers at Solana previously, and it's basically like an MPC based like non-custodial exchange, and it will be like allowing layer 1 to layer 1 swaps, as well as eventually like you can basically use your actual layer 1 assets in the exchange non-custodially and then trade both like spots, so trade them for other layer 1 assets, similar to what something like THORChain allows you to do, but also doing like perps and leverage. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, 𝗕𝗏𝗕𝗃 is really cool.
Have you heard of Drift? Jordy spoke about that as one on Solana that he likes.
Yeah, Drift's really cool. They've been innovating a lot for a while. I haven't caught up with their recent stuff, but last time I checked them out, they were doing really cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's one of the areas that has the most talent building on it. Like GMX V2 is really cool. I think the new SynthetiX V3 is really cool. That's maybe one of my favorite designs, and like one of the most kind of scalable designs if it works. I think Gains, and I know they sponsor you guys, is a super cool design. And like they all have different trade-offs, and like I think with all of them, you kind of have to like go in, understand them, speak to the teams, and then figure out like what you think makes most sense.
Do you think long term the Oracle based perp model can win, or do you think we're going to see more like order book style solutions start to dominate the market once some of the issues with that's fleshed out?
Yeah, I think Oracle perps are a really good like hack to get to market with decent liquidity quicker. But with an Oracle perp, you necessarily assume that price discovery happens elsewhere, right? You kind of like import your price discovery. So, you know, like centralized exchange or whatever, Binance, like all the market makers trade there, a price is established, and then GMX or Gains will just like pull that price and let you trade against it with some slippage or whatever. And for me, I think you can still build a massive business doing that. Like it's what these Oracle perps are doing. It's what like Rollbit's doing with their perps. But I think ultimately the big opportunity is for price discovery itself to happen on chain. And I think for that, you do need an order book or something like an order book. So yeah, I think it's a good like short-term or like medium-term kind of like hack. But I think over time, I mean, it would be really disappointing if price discovery always happens on centralized exchanges, and the best we can do with DeFi is just like try to avoid as much toxic flow as possible with a very fast Oracle, you know, that just copies.
Do you think like GMX could switch their design to an order book model, or do you think if another program like 𝗕𝗏𝗕𝗃 ends up finding the solution, they'll just kind of take price discovery from another DEX? Like, well, I don't know. It's hard to predict, I know, but it's interesting like what their solution might be long term.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they could, as we kind of see these things evolve. I honestly think the best models will take advantage, because I think the best models will have their own price discovery. So they'll have like an order book or something eventually. But I also think they'll have ways to take advantage of passive liquidity, because like clearly there's a bunch of demand in crypto and like all the big brands on crypto Twitter will say how stupid these passive strategies are and how people are losing money and impermanent loss and LVR and all this stuff. But reality is there's billions of dollars in even like the simplest XYK AMMs, right? So like for whatever reason, there's demand for this. And so like if not tapping into that is kind of stupid, right? Because it's much cheaper, as we can see, like it's much cheaper than a centralized market maker, right? Like these people are willing to lose a lot of money to impermanent loss and all sorts of things and still market make. So I think the best systems will have options for both. Like they'll have vaults where like passive LPs can kind of participate and provide liquidity to DEXs, but they'll also have order books for like more sophisticated players to participate, and it'll all kind of be aggregated into one like liquidity book, basically.
I'm just about to ask Jose what he thinks of new front-end solutions like Unibot, but whilst we're on the DEX subject, I wanted to quickly give a shout out to one of our official show partners, Gains Network, who are providing an amazing DEX trading experience. If that is something you're interested in the context of everything that Jose has just said, right now they are currently running a $50,000 trading contest across Polygon and Arbitrum. On the Polygon side, the rankings will be based on cumulative percentage P&L over all of your trades, ensuring every trader, no matter what size you're trading with, has a shot at the top. And if you're more of a whale, then on the Arbitrum side, they will be favoring total P&L over trades, which obviously favors people that are trading bigger size. So just to give you an idea, this trading comp will reset every single day and pay out prizes based on daily P&L. So this is amazing if you've got a really nice trade lined up for the day. And as you can see, on the Polygon side, you have $2,000 for first place, $1,600 for second place, and so on and so forth, and even bigger prizes for traders over on the Arbitrum side with an $8,900 prize for first place. So if you are interested in trading on an amazing DEX, but also getting the upside to potentially $50,000 worth of rewards through their trading comp, then click on the link in the description to trade over on G-Trade. Of course, they're across Polygon and Arbitrum and have some of the most diverse range of asset pairs in crypto. Now, back to Jose to answer my question about Unibot. What are your thoughts on like front-end solutions like Unibot? Because this has been like a huge trend over the last couple of weeks especially, but it seems to only be growing. Unibot hit its all-time high in daily active users today. Do you think these Telegram bots have legs as like a in the medium to long term? Or do you think it's just like short-term hype?
No, I think I think the current version of like these custodial kind of like Telegram bots are interesting, but I think there's definitely a lot more you can do there. Like I think especially with AI, like crypto UX sucks, right? So an AI I think opens up the ability for like chat as a UX that I think is really underexplored, right? And like I think the Telegram bots are like the first sort of instantiation of that, where you can see that people want to be able to ape stuff simply. And I think there's opportunity for like wallets or dashboards to innovate on this UX with AI, and let you, for instance, have, and like we backed a project that's doing this, but have like simple ways to trade, simple ways to like, let's say you type bridge my ETH, from L1 to Arbitrum, and then like stake my ETH in Lido, or like buy some Unibot. Like all this stuff is much simpler actually, I think, and I think with AI in general, I think a lot of stuff that that's currently done through like browsers or browser extensions or even search engines kind of moves to like more of a chat UX. And I think crypto is no different. And these chatbots are kind of like
super interesting, actually.
First iteration of that. Like you're just going to be chatting to this like assistant that basically like gets the transaction ready for you, and then you just have to sign. Or there might even be like stuff that's even simpler than that. But yeah, I think it's like the start of something cool.
That's actually pretty cool, because you could be like, deposit into this, search for yield opportunities, deposit into this LP, reinvest 50% every week, and I want you to auto compound into this farm, and then I want 10% of those profits to go back into ETH. Like the sky is kind of the limit. Are you seeing any solutions for this? Obviously, it's going to take time, because these, we've just seen like the first few iterations of even ChatGPT. Have you seen anything like building anything like this already?
You sort of need like, I think the only people that can really build it are like wallets and dashboards, because you need to have done like all the indexing of blockchain data. That's like really hard to do with the current solutions. And I think you almost need to build like because the AI would need to train on like a lot of data, and also to have access to a lot of data. And I don't think many people actually have that many in the space right now. So I've seen a few of the dashboards kind of experiment with that. And I think they're in the best position to do that, especially the cross-chain ones, which are indexing data across like all the different blockchains. And like Pulsar, which is a portfolio company of ours, is like one of the ones that's experimenting with this.
Yeah, I think I invested in that. I think.
Yeah, I think you guys did too.
We did. So yeah, I think that's really cool. What's the update with that? Are they launching? They're launching soon. I heard some announcement the other day.
Yeah, I think it's live. I think it's my main. If you have assets on multiple chains, I've yet to find like a better portfolio manager than theirs.
I can't believe I haven't. To be honest, I'm invested and I haven't used it, but I'm going to.
It's really useful, honestly. Like because you can
Better than
bundle all your
DBank.
wallets. Well, DBank is really good. We're investors in DBank too, but they're just EVM. So these guys, like if you have assets on Solana or on Cosmos chains or on Su or Aptos or whatever, they have all those integrations. So
nice.
It's super useful. Yeah.
DBank today announced they're launching their own. What was the DBank chain? I'll get the announcement.
I didn't see that. Damn.
I'll get the announcement up actually, right now.
What does the chain do?
Yeah, I'll tell you right now.
Yeah.
So here we go. DBank chain, aiming to become the asset layer for social. We're launching testnet today and is planned to roll out mainnet 2024. Built on the OP stack, our development primarily revolved around addressing 3 key concerns while maintaining robust security, gas costs, offering a native account abstraction-like experience, and ensuring the safety of L1 assets. You can kind of read this, yeah. My computer's freezing a little bit as I scroll, but yeah, I was just wondering if you knew about that.
No, I don't actually. I need to catch up on this.
𝗕𝗏𝗏 wallets integrated the DBank test. I've heard 𝗕𝗏𝗏's super good actually.
It is.
I've heard it's nice. Yeah, I've heard it's really nice. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff being built on that front. So we talked about Telegram bots. That's kind of one of the. By the way, you invested in Unibot. Are you trading that, or is it?
I think I have like a small. I think I bought a bit of it a while ago, but yeah, not a big position.
So I think the other vertical that's been just exploding, and there's even speculation that Unibot will partner with them, is Rollbit. So we did have a little bit of a chat before we went live about Rollbit, because yeah, I think we've all been trading it. It's been a lot of fun to kind of watch this GambleFi thing develop, and yeah, I've been doing a bit of on-chain degenning myself. So yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on Rollbit and that huge tokenomics revamp they announced 2 days ago.
Yeah, I want to caveat just like it's a casino and people have different opinions about casinos and the morality of them, and also like the team is a non. There's a lot of risk of all sorts of things, blow up, rugging. So like
we don't even know if they're going to adhere to this burn.
Kind of discussing this. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think one of our internet's a bit lag. I was just saying we don't even know, like theoretically, since it's not transparent, we don't even know if they're burning what they say they're burning. Like we can see some of the burn, but we don't know whether they're going to stick to it. You know what I mean? Like it's all just kind of in the air. So yeah, definitely caveat. Like this is crypto, but this is like not even just crypto. This is like one other crazy extremity of crypto.
Yeah, all the caveats that you said. You know, it's a casino. You know, it's centralized. Founders are anon and potentially have dodgy history or whatever. But it's like if the statistics are to be believed, they're like absolutely printing money right now. And I think my like one big concern with them was like whether they ever put value through the token, or at least my concern. I didn't know whether they'd be like meaningfully putting value through the token, given how much money they're making just as a purely centralized thing. But with the token economics revamp, it does seem like they're doing that. And again, like with all kind of exchange tokens, and this is always a concern with like these like CDeFi. I mean, not even CDeFi tokens. These are like purely centralized exchanges that like make vague promises to do certain things with the token, but this really isn't like a legally enforceable right, and it involves a lot of trust. But if they stick to this, I think like they're like some days they're doing like 5 billion in just like perps volume, right? It's like it's pretty absurd. And so I think the token, like if you like take yesterday's, and it's not even sports season, but like take yesterday's sort of burn and annualize it, and they're burning like 20% of the token.
Well, it's crazy that the market's not even volatile. Like exchange revs at a yearly low across most exchanges. So it's crazy that they're doing these kind of numbers. Like what happens if Bitcoin, like I'm not trying to shill roll, but I'm just asking, like what happens if Bitcoin like has a huge move, like downwards or upwards, and you know?
Yeah. I mean, it is like, I don't know if you've used the product, but it is like a really good product. Like
no, I have. It's good. It
works really well. They've got like cool features that I haven't seen elsewhere. It's like not easy to build such a good product. So they have merit there. Yeah.
Yeah, the marketing's been great, like with their affiliate campaign. Like, I don't know, I think it's a perfect storm. I think people are bored as well. Like, there's a lot of market participants who are like reeling from the low volatility and just really want something to speculate on, and Rollbit's given them a vehicle to do that. Do you think other...
Yeah. And like these hated, I feel like these hated tokens have like sort of like, you know, like this and like Ox and to some extent have like a native, like almost like short squeeze type like market structure to them, because people hate it so much and like don't want to buy it, and then like capitulation happens all at once, right? Where you look at the price keeps going up, and then at some point people are just like, fuck, I want to buy it, you know, and it's like it's interesting. Like we're kind of seeing with in the recent sort of 6 months or whatever, I think all the stuff that's done really well on chain has been stuff that people hate for various reasons, right? Whether it's Unibot, like you're giving them your keys and like the volumes aren't real. Rollbit, obviously, like the history of the founders and everything like that. Ox, you know, it's all stuff that's
even
like
airdrops.
Hated.
Arkham, people hated that email thing with Arkham, but the airdrop was the biggest of the year. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of funny.
Exactly.
Well, next time everyone hates a really popular product, I'm just going to ape it. I think that's the strategy.
That's the lesson.
In terms of GambleFi, do you think like this as a general narrative has legs? Because I know like Rollbit's mostly been driven by its like crypto perps and not its sports betting. Do you think crypto degens want to gamble on sports and play roulette and all that kind of stuff? Or do you think there's a market for that?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. That I really think when I talk about a DEX or like a centralized exchange or anything, like I really mean in the broadest sense, like speculation platform. I think that's like the immediate kind of like killer app for crypto is like a speculation platform where you can really speculate on anything from crypto to stocks to bonds, commodities, sports, random, like, you know, election betting markets, like everything. I think like that, and it's sort of one of the biggest addressable markets in crypto as well, I think. And I think like FTX was kind of going this route before we found out all the shit they were up to in the background, but they were adding stocks, they were adding betting, they had like all this in like a really nice UX with cross margin, and then they had FTX.
It would have been a killer if they just weren't such idiots on the back end. They could have killed it for decades.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I think that ends up being like, you know, because it's a game of capital efficiency, right? Like you want to have your assets in the place that you can do the most stuff with them, right? And that's why like centralized exchanges end up absorbing so much of the capital in crypto, because you can do options, there's Launchpad, you can do perps, you can do like margin trading. They have a bunch of different coins you can buy. They have debit cards. Like there's no reason for you to take your capital off there, right? And I think the winning like DEX will offer all that stuff too, and I think like gambling is definitely part of it.
Well, let's continue to talk about gambling. Next segment, I wanted to talk to you about meme coins. So that's clearly another huge addressable market, probably the biggest in a bull run, right? Looking at what Doge did last cycle. What's your take on meme coins? I saw a tweet before in the break. I was on my phone and I saw someone say like, you know, all of you are trying to mid curve it. I'm left curving the shit out of the next cycle. I'm buying 𝗵𝗵𝗍, Doge, and 𝗕𝗵. Good night. See you in 2 years. What do you think of the whole meme coin strategy?
I personally don't actually like invest in meme coins, in like pure meme coins. It's just not my expertise.
You're too smart for that. You're not mid curving. You're like right curving. And then
I'm actually probably mid curving. Yeah, but like I think there's like coins that represent good projects that also have good meme. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's really where I think the biggest opportunities are, is when meme lines up with utility and fundamentals. And like, I just find it easier to hold stuff like that. Also with meme coins, there is like a lot of botting and like games going on, right? Where there's like bots tracking who the deployer is of various meme coins. And if the deployer has 8 figures in their account, then there's like bots that are automatically aping after that and stuff like that. And then there's like manipulation games being played. Like that definitely happened with Bald on base. And so I just think it's like a game where I don't really have an edge in like the meme coin thing. And I think there's going to be like the Doge is success. There's going to be like 100 failures sort of like next to it.
Do you have an opinion on Doge with all this X app payment speculation? Do you think it's a good buy, good hold, or just in general? Like, do you have any thoughts on Elon and Doge?
I think X is like a really cool vision. Like it's one of the only stocks that I own because I think they're moving really fast, and I think that vision is it's almost like the same. It ends up at the same place as like the FTX vision, but starts at a completely different place, right? Like it's like this everything app, but it starts off with, okay, I have a Twitter profile. Now I can like send money to people, and maybe I can like subscribe to them, and now you have like kind of like a payment network, right? And then eventually you integrate like a wallet, and suddenly you can hold your assets on there and send those assets. Then you can add like an exchange, you can add lending and borrowing and mortgages and all sorts. Like I think there's a lot of ways to get to that everything app, but only a few people that have the vision and like kind of ability to execute on it. I definitely think obviously Elon is one of them, but I don't know about Doge. Like
you won't be buying Doge just as a proxy, like some people.
Yeah,
like me actually. I'll be honest. I'm buying a bit of Doge for next cycle. I'm not too heavy now because I still think Bitcoin, ETH, etc. outperform, but I think at some point I will rotate heavier into Doge just because I've seen what it can do. But yeah, I don't know. Everyone's got their own approach.
Yeah, man, memes are powerful. Like memes are super powerful, especially in the modern world. But yeah, I do think there's stuff where like meme and reality lines up, and that's like even more powerful.
I want to talk about another sector that I think could be pretty powerful. Crypto gaming. We talked about it a bit in part 1. Do you think we're on the verge of getting these AAA games? I mean, real gaming funding only happened around 2 to 3 years ago, so I know this thing takes time. But how close do you think we are to the first big crypto game blockbuster? Hold on. Before José gets into the nitty-gritty to do with the crypto gaming space and gives us his favorite gaming pick for next cycle, I want to quickly give a shout out to one of our official show partners, SmarDex, who are currently running a massive giveaway in collaboration with 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏. So apologies for interrupting, but I think it's for good reason, because once a week, we are going to be doing a 1 Ethereum giveaway. So that's $1,800 every single week, just for someone that deposits in their liquidity pool. So all you need to do to potentially win 1 Ethereum is go into their platform. There's a link in the description. Stake in one of their liquidity pools, a minimum of $50, which you can see here are paying massive rewards, 28% for ARB-USDC. Some of their native SDEX pools are paying 100% plus. Make sure the network is either Arbitrum, Polygon, or BNB. So not Ethereum, any of these other networks, you are all good. Simply select your pool, add liquidity. So obviously you would still own the assets that you deposit. You will earn massive yield on those assets and also put yourself in the running as long as you deposit at least $50 to win potentially 1 Ethereum this week that I will be giving away on the show in just a few days. So you only have a couple days left if you want to take advantage of this giveaway. Once again, link in the description, deposit minimum $50 in liquidity to any of the non-Ethereum networks across their amazing liquidity pools, and then come onto this dashboard and enter in your wallet address. Once you enter in your address, we will pick someone live on the show that is going to win 1 Ethereum. So don't miss out on the giveaway. Get involved on SmarDex today using the link in the description. And now let's get back to José's response on crypto gaming and some of the games that he thinks have the most potential to be big winners next cycle.
Kind of like L2 or like the ETH 2.0 roadmap, right? It's like on the verge for years. I feel like gaming might be like that for a bit, just because it takes way longer than people think, including the people building the games, as like people might realize, you know. But yeah, I think there's a few. Unfortunately, like development is kind of like under wraps for a lot of these games, so they can't say much publicly, especially with ones that have trading tokens. But there are a few that we've played like private betas for and stuff that look really good. And then there are a lot of games because like the universe of gaming is huge. You know, there's like all sorts of games. Like people talk about like crypto games suck, which I mean hard to argue with. But like there's also a lot of really successful games that, in my opinion, suck as well. Like I don't get mobile gaming really. You know, which is like a massive category. There's like all sorts of stupid games people play, and I think crypto gaming is going to have all of that. You know, you're going to have mobile games, you're going to have shooters, you're going to have MMORPGs, you're going to have fully on-chain games where it's you literally have to be able to code to play them. You're going to have like the whole gamut of experimentation, and that's what I think is like so exciting about it. I do think you're going to have AAA games too that bring in like millions of new users to crypto. And I mean, for me personally, like that's what I'm most excited to play.
Are there any games you've seen in particular that you've been like, wow, that looks cool?
Yeah, the Illuvium, we're investors in Illuvium, but like the Illuvium beta looked really cool. I think a lot of people tried that and had good things to say. There are a bunch of others. What do you think of Star Atlas? Star Atlas, yeah, I haven't looked at the recent thing. We ended up not doing the round, and I think we had concerns about them being able to like deliver the game at the time, just given like how complex what they're setting out to build is. It's like a hugely ambitious vision, and you need like a lot of time to do that, and like the vesting schedules and stuff didn't necessarily line up with that. But I think they've been really and like they've had some layoffs recently, and I don't know. Yeah, don't have too much of a good take there, honestly.
Sure.
Let me see what our I don't have any like, because a lot of the ones that we know about like developments kind of under wraps. Like we tried to do a report on this, actually, like just go through our gaming portfolio and other games that we know and like show where they all are and stuff like that, but none of them want you to talk about it, so it's just kind of annoying.
I want to ask like studios versus individual games. Like there's like two approaches. I guess you can invest in the games, or you can invest in the infrastructure, like the picks and shovel plays. Do you think there's validity to like buying, instead of investing in individual games, like also buying like gaming studios like 𝗬𝗎, PYR, Gala come to mind, infrastructure like, you know, let's say IMX, like just do you think there's validity in taking that approach?
Yeah, we've invested in both studios and infrastructure. Like we did IMX. We also did a wallet recently called like 𝗕𝗏𝗃, which is from an ex-MetaMask lead that's kind of building like a wallet optimized for gaming. I think there's going to be like select infrastructure plays that do really, really well. But gaming is also kind of weird in that like it's a market where the infrastructure, there's a lot of like infrastructure that ends up being built by the games themselves, right? Whether it's like the Steam marketplace or a lot of other stuff like that. So I do think investing in and it's a hard space to invest in, because it's not like something where you can purely look at like numbers or market size or anything like that. You have to have there's some subjectivity and like artistic taste, right? You can sort of like, you have to talk to the founder, like check what they've built before and stuff like that to make sure they can deliver. But then at some point it's like subjective. And so I think a lot of people shy away from it, which can make sense. And like we haven't, and we'll kind of see how that plays out. But it's definitely like, it's a mixture of like investment and then like investing in art or something, I guess.
Do you have a take on 𝗬𝗎s? They're like I guess they would consider themselves to be like the Steam of crypto gaming.
No, I don't actually. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't heard of them before. Oh, yeah, I think there are a few people trying to build that. I think it's too early for there to be like a Steam of crypto right now,
because we don't have the games.
There'll be like winning games to try and build that. Like, I think 𝗓𝗏𝗃 is trying to do that to some extent, but I also think like 𝗕𝗏𝗃 and like the winning wallet is in a really good position to do that because you own the user. And I think whichever game ends up like really taking off has the potential to just like verticalize and build a lot of this in for themselves, you know?
Yeah, because they could go to other games and say, hey, we'll like incubate launch under us, launch under our studio, kind of like Rockstar in the early days with their big hitters, and then acquiring other gaming companies almost underneath that. That could be an interesting model.
That's it.
There's lots. Look, the reality is there's lots I want to ask you, but also there's you're a busy man, and we don't want to be here all day. I do want to talk about Cosmos and Solana and all that stuff, but an Astroport. Actually, maybe just give us an update on Astroport. Maybe that's a good one. Because I'm interested.
Yeah. DeFi Labs is a contributor.
This is probably a hard one to do in a few minutes, but you basically did a 32-part thread. I'll show the viewers.
Yeah.
If they're interested in reading more in their own time. Here.
Yeah, and obviously I'm a contributor. I hold tokens, and like Labs is a contributor, so we're biased and stuff like that. But there's an interesting thing happening right now where like AMMs are kind of like dying in some sense, right? Like you saw sort of like volumes are down across the board, but spot volumes are down versus perps, and like even within spot, there's like these sort of intense-based models or like kind of off-chain models like CowSwap and 1inch and Uniswap which are the kind of like just front ends for centralized exchanges and market makers, right? And so like AMMs are kind of in a weird place, and sort of I think Uniswap is for me not an AMM anymore. Like Uniswap v3 was already not an AMM. And Uniswap, because it's like it just allows so much. It's not passive anymore, right? Like to really succeed, you have to be an active market maker. So it's abandoned like the automated portion from of AMM, and then Uniswap X kind of like abandons that completely in that it's gonna aggregate liquidity from like off-chain sources and market makers as well. And then I think the last pure AMM is sort of like Curve and to some extent like Balancer as well. And so there's like a weird situation of like, do AMMs need to, like, what are AMMs good for? Do they need to exist? Like, will these like highly inefficient algorithms ever outperform like centralized market makers? And for me, kind of what I said to you earlier, like I think AMMs really shine on the long tail of assets, right? You kind of see that with Unibot and Rollbit and like Aux and DMT and all the stuff that's trading on chain. Mainly on AMMs, but it's kind of like if stuff just like launches on AMMs and then as soon as they do meaningful volume, they move to centralized exchange, then it's kind of like not too good for AMMs, right? Because you're almost like selling your winners, like GemX, right? GemX started trading on an AMM on Arbitrum, and then now like price discovery mainly happens on Binance. Like that's not great. And so I think, AMMs are in a weird place, and for me. The big thing with AMMs is that they're not DEXs. They're like slightly different from DEXs. Like a DEX targets the trader and you want to offer the best experience for a trader. An AMM, your target is the LP and you want to offer the best experience for an LP and for projects, right? Because those are your two targets. Like you want to target LPs who want like passive yield strategies, and like efficient ones that internalize MEV, that have like good algorithms that aren't leaking loads of value, like 𝗕𝗏𝗄, and then also projects, because projects want to launch their tokens, establish liquidity, build a community, and like not all of them have access to centralized exchanges. They might not want to interface with centralized exchanges, and so I think like the cool AMM stuff we're seeing is things that like serve those two use cases, and that's kind of like what Astroport is trying to do, focused on Cosmos. Kind of building the best like pure AMM, like providing the best experience for passive LPs and for projects that are launching tokens on top of them. Because like, and this is part of the trend that's like really kind of worrying as well, is even new tokens that like that have good funding don't go through AMMs anymore either, right? Like WorldCoin, 𝗬𝗍, Aptos, they do these like coordinated Binance launches where the market makers own most of the supply and they're trading back and forth, and the valuation is huge and the volume looks huge. And so to some extent, people like anchor to that. So even if it goes down from that after launch, Aptos went up to like $20, so now it's trading at $7, and people are like, oh shit, it's cheap, right? So these launches like work. It's kind of like Sam coins in disguise, right? Like the old Solana playbook. And it's like it works because it's hard to compete with that, right? Like if you're these guys now have billions of dollars of stock options to give out to employees, or at least hundreds of millions to give out to employees, and they have like loads of money to throw at ecosystem grants and stuff, right? Like this stuff works, and all this is like kind of bad in my opinion. Like the community gets screwed long term, more stuff moves off chain to centralized exchanges, and so I do think someone needs to work on stuff that makes AMM like relevant again. And I think 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗏𝗧𝗧 doing good work there.
It'd be an amazing comeback story if they succeed here, right? Because obviously everything they've been through, it'd be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously you've been you're in close contact with the team. So what's the team like? Most importantly.
Yeah, I mean it's the contributors are really good. They're really devoted. They've been like anyone who survived the kind of Terra crash, like all the projects which survived the Terra crash, like 𝗕𝗫𝗓, Astroport, like Apollo, you got to have like that in itself is a positive signal, right? Like you got something like some grit, because it wasn't easy, like going through that and then going through the lack of traction in Cosmos. So yeah, I mean it's a super smart team. A lot of the Cosmos teams are really smart, whether it's Neutron, Say, and so they're working with really smart teams. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. Like I think there's a lot of risks. There's risks to Cosmos taking off, risks to AMMs losing and like just ending up not being relevant. But yeah, I think I'm optimistic.
Well, amazing. I think that's a good note to end things on. I found this this really interesting. We had 2 parts. So if you haven't checked out the first part, we'll link that in the description. And yeah, there was so much I didn't ask, but that's fine. This space is endless.
Thanks, man.
You'll have to come on another time and we can.
Yeah, happy to.
We can do that. Maybe next time you come on, hopefully the market's moving and we can have a bit of action to talk about. But I think for the viewers, this is a good time to do some research and knuckle down on some of the things you've talked about. So that would be the plan. But yeah, thanks for joining.
Thanks very much for having me.
We'll see you in the next one. Peace.